Hi, I'm Jillian McDowell, and I'm here with you today to welcome you to the second mental health session. Today, we're going to talk about stress, including some of the causes of stress, things that counteract stress, and ways to manage it. So, stress is a term that we're all quite familiar with. It's very natural that we all feel elements of stress. And while a small amount of stress can be motivating, too much can also have a negative effect, and that can be both in the short term and over the long term. So, stress is a feeling of being tense and overwhelmed and involves changes in the body that affects nearly every system. And I won't go through each one, but you'll see there in that photo that I have on the slide that there's effects in all of the different body systems. And so feel free to take a moment to pause the presentation right now and just take a look at what is on the slide there. So, by influencing and affecting every system in our body, also can influence how we feel and how we behave. So, there's this connection into our kind of mental health. So, by causing these mind body changes, stress contributes to and can contribute to psychological disorders and other diseases, and also affects our mental and physical health, reducing our quality of life. So, there are two types of stress: acute and chronic. So, acute stress is more like a brief, intense period. It's usually short term, doesn't last very long. So it could be things like giving a speech, getting into an argument, studying for an exam, and things like that. Chronic stress, on the other hand, is the body's response to a more internal and external stressful events that are long lasting, so really prolonged stress. The symptoms of chronic stress might appear less intense in the moment, but last over a long period of time and can have a long term and severe effects. So, things that could include sources of chronic stress could be things like unhealthy or difficult relationships, financial difficulties, a difficult job, and things like that. So, on the slide, we have some examples of symptoms of both the acute types of stress and the chronic symptoms of stress. And so as you go through that list, you may notice that there's three categories. So we have the physical, the emotional and cognitive components, and also the behavioral effects of stress. You might be more familiar with some of the acute symptoms, or those might be things that you sort of relate to because, as I said, they might be more noticeable because they may be more intense in the short term. But the chronic symptoms of stress are things that we might end up kind of either not noticing. We might think they sort of become a bit normal, or we might not notice them or recognize them as stress. And we might think they're caused by other things. And we may not notice them until they're really having a major impact on our life or might be causing other symptoms. So these are things like sleep disruptions, depression, substance use, heart disease, skin problems, anxiety disorders, and those sorts of things. So for this reason, often those individuals with chronic stress might need more guidance in recognizing that the symptoms that they're feeling and have been feeling for a long time might actually be stress related. So, what causes stress? There are many factors that contribute to stress in your life. The demands of daily life pull us in all sorts of directions, and that takes energy that we don't always have. And when demands grow out of hand, they might lead to stress. And this is just one example of how we can be affected by stress in our lives. But you can also see how normal that it is and how it affects everybody. When stress continues without being addressed, or without even realizing that it's there, the symptoms can linger and start to chip away at our physical and our mental health. And stress can also grow when you spend a lot of time and energy doing things that are not in line with your values, that aren't necessarily really important to you at your core, or when two of your values are in conflict with each other. And you may recall that we talked about values in the first session. And so when you're doing things in life that aren't in alignment with those values, it can lead to stress, and stress can grow within the body. It also might even become a barrier to us being able to achieve different goals in life that we've set. So, what are some things that protect us against stress? There are some things that can help counteract the negative effects of stress. So, things like daily activities like physical activity, eating nutritious food, spending time outside, spending time with friends and family. So, having those strong relationships, having healthy coping strategies, doing things like mindfulness activities, and things like that can really help protect us against the stress. It's also helpful to understand what kinds of stress that we have and what's causing it so that we can look at even some ways that we can start to try to reduce that stress. So you have things that are counteracting the negative stress, and then also ways that we can try to reduce the current stress to have a better overall balance. So, a person that has a lot of these protective factors will be better equipped to overcome the obstacles in life and to deal with the stress when it arises. So, next, we're going to do a quick activity around exploring our stress and also those protective factors, or those things that we can do to help counteract the stress. So, the handout stress exploration has 3 areas or factors that contribute to stress, and 3 overarching categories of factors that can help protect against stress or help counteract the negative stress. So, the reason why we do this and how it can be helpful is that, like I had just mentioned, being aware of and making sure that you pay attention to the things in your life that cause you stress and that also help protect against the stress are really important to help you manage the stressors that contribute to those stressful experiences you're having. So we'll take a pause now as you take a few minutes to fill out the stress exploration sheet. So after filling out the worksheet, you might find that you have more things that contribute to stress and less that counteract the stress. So, if that's the case, it would be helpful to work on both areas. So, thinking about how you can eliminate some stressors in your life and what you can do to incorporate more of those protective factors or things you can do that counteract stress. So, how can I relieve stress? There's different ways and things you can do to help manage the stress that you're dealing with on a daily basis. So, two sort of broad categories would be relaxing your mind and relaxing your body. So, these are different techniques that you could incorporate. So, I'll go through the list of these activities or these techniques. So, one of them for relaxing your mind is writing. Writing about things that are bothering you or stressful events and how they made you feel for about 10 to 15 minutes a day can help you find out what's causing your stress and how much stress you feel. And after a while, you could even help to find better ways to cope by doing this, because then you know what's causing it. This could be in the form of a journal, but it could also be in whatever way that makes sense for you and feels natural to you. It could be making a list. It could be drawing it out. So there's lots of different ways. So when I say write, that's just sort of one example, but it's getting things that are in your mind out onto paper in some way. Letting your feelings out is another way. Talking, laughing, crying, expressing anger and feelings of frustration when you need to. Talking about your feelings with someone that you trust is a healthy way to relieve stress. Doing something that you enjoy. This could be hobbies like gardening or a creative activity like writing, crafts, art, playing with and caring for pets, doing volunteer work, etc. Those are just some examples. So you might feel that you're too busy to do some of these things, and in thinking about trying to incorporate something, it might feel like you're actually adding some stress in the short term. But making time to do something that you enjoy can help you relax and can be very important in that those protective factors of helping to counteract stress. Meditation is another way to relax your mind. There's different ways to do relaxation or to do meditation. This could be guided imagery. It could be breathing techniques, which can also, we'll talk about that in relaxing your body as well. But there's different ways to do meditation that can really help to relax your mind and help you focus on the present moment. Relaxing your body is another way to relieve stress. So exercising is one of the best ways to manage stress. And I know that you're talking about lots of different ways to be adding physical activity and exercise into your daily lives. So walking is a great way to get started. And everyday activities like house cleaning and yard work can even help reduce stress. Stretching can also relieve muscle tension, and bringing mindfulness into your activity, so being aware of your body, breathing deeply during exercise and physical exertion, are all excellent ways to help connect your body and your mind. And other techniques to relax, like breathing exercises, muscle relaxation, and yoga, can help to relieve stress. Progressive muscle relaxation is also a technique that can help to reduce muscle tension. So to do a progressive muscle relaxation, you can start by tensing a group of muscles and then relaxing that same group, and do it progressively, sort of one group until you have moved through each muscle group in your body. So one good way to start is just by sitting up tall and putting both feet on the floor and starting with your toes and curling up the toes, kind of adding some tension into that group, and then relaxing the toes. And then maybe trying to add the arches of the feet, so tensing up the full foot and then relaxing. And then work on the muscles in your calf muscles. So tensing your calves and then relaxing. When I do progressive muscle relaxation, I also like to add the breathing into it at the same time. So inhale as I tense up the muscles, and then exhale as you release the muscle group. And just do that progressively all through the different muscle groups in the body. There's also things online that you can find that talk you through relaxation techniques, also meditation. So there's lots of information out there. So in terms of more information, there's a really good source of all information about stress, managing stress, and a lot of different strategies in this HealthLink BC website that I've included here on the slide. So feel free to take a moment to pause the presentation and copy down that link. And there's a whole lot of information on that site that you might find really helpful. And that is the end of our presentation for today. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'll see you again soon.